He walked into the bank like any other customer with a simple request: to withdraw his money. But his red cap seemed to trigger a chain reaction of hatred, turning the manager into a stand-up comedian who confused his job with a political stage. When the manager ripped the bill in front of everyone, he clearly didn't expect the ordinary customer to be his new boss. But as they say, the show is just getting started, and the finale will be louder than applause in a courtroom. The morning sunlight bounced off the bank's glass doors as John Peters stepped inside, his red MAGA hat immediately drawing attention. At 50, John was a man of purpose and subtle authority. He wasn't just any customer, he was the new owner of this bank. But today, he walked in not as a boss, but as a regular client, curious to see how his employees treated people when they thought no one was watching. The lobby was pristine, all gleaming marble floors and hushed conversations. The air conditioning hit him like a cold wave, but John kept his composure, ignoring the whispers and sideways glances his hat attracted. To him, it was just a symbol of his beliefs. To others, especially in politically charged Arizona, it was a statement they couldn't ignore. At the far end of the room sat Michael Roberts, the branch manager. Mid-40s with a suit that screamed wannabe executive, Michael exuded self-importance. His nameplate glinted under the lights as he glanced up at John, his professional smile freezing momentarily when he saw the hat. John approached calmly and slid his bank card across the desk. "Good morning," he said. "I'd like to withdraw some cash." Michael's eyes flicked between the card and the hat, his smile returning, but now colder, more calculated. "Good morning, sir. That's quite an interesting choice of hat." John raised an eyebrow. "It's just a hat." "Of course," Michael replied with a chuckle that wasn't quite friendly. "It's just, we don't see many of those here. Arizona's more about progress, not nostalgia." John's voice stayed steady. "I didn't realize my hat was part of the banking process." Michael shrugged, smirking. "Oh, no offense, it's just noticeable." He turned to his computer, tapping away before pulling a stack of bills from the cash drawer. Instead of handing them over, he held up a $20 bill and examined it like it was a prop. "You know," he said, smirk widening, "some might say certain people shouldn't even have access to this, not with those affiliations." The room fell quiet. Customers turned to watch, some even pulling out their phones to record. John's expression didn't change. "I came to withdraw my money, not hear your opinions. Your job is to serve customers, not judge them." Michael leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying himself. "Well, maybe some customers shouldn't be so provocative." With exaggerated flair, he tore the $20 in half and tossed the pieces onto the desk. "Oops," he said mockingly, "guess that's on me." The room froze. The whispers grew louder, and all eyes focused on the confrontation. John's voice cut through the tension like ice. "That was a mistake." Michael laughed, smug. "Oh yeah? And what are you going to do about it?" John didn't answer, but the weight of the silence and the dozens of cameras capturing every moment made it clear this wasn't going to end the way Michael thought. The bank lobby was tense, every whisper and sideways glance amplifying the uncomfortable silence. John Peters stood his ground, calm but unyielding. Across from him, Michael Roberts, the branch manager, smirked like a man who thought he was untouchable. "You see, Mr. MAGA," Michael said, gesturing at John's red hat, "we like to maintain certain standards here. Arizona might tolerate your kind in some places, but this is a progressive institution." John's voice was steady. "Progressive? You just destroyed a customer's money. That's not progressive, it's illegal." Michael leaned back, shrugging. "Oh, come on, it's $20. You're all about hard work, right? Consider it a contribution to common sense." The crowd shifted, murmurs growing louder. Some customers watched in disbelief, others filmed the scene. A woman in line whispered, "This is ridiculous." A younger man muttered, "Serves him right." "You're enjoying this," John said evenly. Michael grinned. "What can I say? Just another day at the office." Before John could respond, a firm voice cut through the air. "What's going on here?" All eyes turned as Robert Ellison, a senior manager, stepped into the room. His crisp suit and commanding presence immediately changed the energy. He took in the torn bill, Michael's smug face, and John's calm resolve in one glance. "Mr. Peters," Ellison said, his voice tinged with surprise, "I didn't know you'd be visiting today." The room went silent. Michael's confidence cracked as confusion set in. "Mr. Peters, who's that?" Ellison ignored him, focusing on John. "Are you inspecting the branch, sir?" John nodded slightly. "Something like that." Michael paled. "Wait, you're the new owner?" John straightened. "Yes. And now I have a very clear idea of how this branch operates." Ellison turned to Michael, his voice sharp. "Mr. Roberts, I believe you owe Mr. Peters an apology." Michael stammered, his voice barely audible. "I didn't know," John cut him off. "It doesn't matter. Your behavior was unprofessional, unethical, and illegal. Destroying a customer's money? That's a crime." Michael's mouth opened, but no words came out. "You're fired," John said coldly. "Effective immediately. And you'll be hearing from my legal team." Ellison stepped in to escort Michael out, his protests fading as the crowd began to clap. Turning to Ellison, John said, "We need to talk about this branch's culture. It's going to change, starting now." Ellison nodded. "Understood, sir." As customers dispersed, John noticed several still filming. He didn't mind. Let the world see what accountability looked like. The lobby buzzed with quiet whispers as Michael Roberts disappeared from sight, escorted out by Robert Ellison. Customers were still lingering, some packing up their belongings, others glued to their phones, undoubtedly sharing videos of what had just happened. John Peters stood at the center of it all, calm and collected, though his sharp gaze suggested the wheels in his head were already turning. Ellison returned quickly, his expression professional but tinged with unease. "Mr. Peters," he began, his tone respectful, "I want to personally apologize for what just happened. That behavior was unacceptable." John nodded slightly, his voice even. "Apology accepted, but we're far from done here. That display was more than just poor customer service. It's a symptom of something bigger." Ellison nodded, glancing at the remaining customers. "Shall we continue this discussion in private, sir?" John shook his head. "No, let them see. Transparency isn't just for show. It's how we fix things." He turned to the gathered customers and employees, raising his voice just enough to command the room. "To everyone here, I apologize for what you witnessed today. This is not the standard of professionalism or respect that this bank should stand for. Things will change, effective immediately." There was a brief silence, and then someone in the back began to clap. It spread quickly, the room filling with the sound of applause and murmurs of approval. One man stepped forward, his phone still recording. "You handled that like a pro," he said, nodding. "Not many people would have kept their cool." John gave a polite smile. "Thank you, but keeping calm isn't enough. It's about action." As the crowd began to disperse, John motioned for Ellison to follow him into the manager's office. Once inside, he sat across from the senior manager, his tone turning serious. "What I just saw tells me that this branch has a serious culture problem," John said. "It's not just about politics. It's about respect, professionalism, and accountability. If that's missing, nothing else will work." Ellison nodded solemnly. "I agree, sir. I'll start implementing new training protocols and reviewing staff behavior immediately." "Good," John replied. "And make sure every single employee understands that personal biases have no place here. I don't care if someone's a Republican, Democrat, or completely apolitical. This bank serves everyone equally." Ellison straightened in his seat. "Understood, sir. I'll make sure it's done." As John stood to leave, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and wasn't surprised to see notifications flooding in. Calls, emails, and mentions from the videos now circulating online. Within minutes, the incident was already gaining traction, sparking debates and discussions. Some comments praised John for his professionalism, hailing him as a beacon of integrity. Others predictably dragged politics into it, criticizing either his hat or the manager's behavior. John sighed, pocketing the phone. He turned to Ellison. "This will blow up bigger than it needs to, but that's not our focus. Let the internet argue. We focus on the people walking through those doors." Ellison nodded firmly. "Absolutely, sir." By the time John left the bank, the mood had shifted entirely. Employees stood a little straighter. Customers offered him respectful nods, and even the air seemed lighter. Outside, the sun was still shining, and John tipped his MAGA hat slightly as he walked to his car. In the days that followed, the video of the incident went viral, sparking debates across social media and news outlets. While some tried to spin it into a political spectacle, most agreed on one thing. John Peters had set a standard for professionalism and accountability that others should follow. For John, the goal was simple: to rebuild the culture of his bank, one branch at a time, ensuring that respect and service were priorities, no matter who the customer or the employee might be.